And if we could, Bob, how about the Pledge of Allegiance for us, if you would, please?
Yes, sir. If everybody would please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Randy, you read my mind. Yes, sir. Got that little larger. I think it's time for a roll call. Jared, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. Barb Barker.
Here.
Tammy Blank.
Here.
Cinda Brode.
Present.
Julia Tamarki Kukuro.
Present.
Tom Harley.
Here.
Mr. Kerr.
Present.
Mrs. Leeper.
Present.
Mrs. Lowry.
Present.
Mr. Schroeth.
Here.
All present.
You're muted, sir.
You know, there's just too darn many buttons that I have to push on this thing. Again, let me start over again. I thank everybody for being here. It's a pleasure to have you all this evening, and we're glad that you could all make it, and welcome. I have no board president message. That takes us down to public comment. Jared, do we have anybody that signed up for public comment?
Not that I'm aware of, sir. We didn't receive anything ahead of time.
Okay, and it doesn't appear that there's anything in the chat room. IAEA, ASME, SGA, or Stuka, anybody here from those four organizations tonight? Nothing heard. Superintendent's report. Mike, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll make my comments brief. We had an incident last night that we were dealing with a positive case at Ben Franklin, and we want to come out right out the gate and say, first and foremost, we hope that the student is doing well. I want the public to know, once we received information, it became clear that there would be no definite direction from the Department of Health last night. We acted out of abundance of caution based on advice of local health experts. Our actions were taken in line with our top priority, which is to protect the health and well-being of our students, staff, and the greater Indiana community. We met with the Department of Health today. Not only did they review our actions, they supported them and applauded them by following their protocol, and we defer to them on the next steps. They are going to reach out to families who may be impacted by this, and I understand the inconvenience that may cause, but we have to surrender as a team to the fact that once some case like this happens, we have an obligation to report that to the Department of Health, and then they'll handle contact tracing or next steps from there, and that's exactly what we did. So at this point, first and foremost, we hope that the student's doing well. Second of all, we appreciate the teachers' hard work and following through and making sure the procedures are followed. And if there's any questions with that, or parents feel that there's not something we're doing on end or not be vigilant in our duties, please just email me, and we can always get to the bottom of that. But everyone's working hard. It's an unfortunate event, but the response was there, and Department of Health will be communicating with the families who are impacted by this next step. Last night, our principals and nurses called the families who are aware, so there was communication and clarity provided to them, and we'll defer to the Department of Health on the next steps for those students who may or may not be involved. They'll handle that from there, but I know that's a topic of discussion, and we wanted to be clear on front what the actions the district took at this current time, sir.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Other than that, I don't think we've had a meeting since school started. It started very well then, other than this bump in the road.
It did, sir. The teachers, the kids, the families, everyone's being vigilant and trying to make sure this works and our schools stay open. I'm really pleased and proud of the work everyone's doing, because what they're what I see they're recognizing is, whether you feel on the idea of masks or not, and what your thought is politically, what I saw is a community come together and say, let's surrender to the fact that these are the rules that the schools are applied are required to abide by, and let's do our best to make sure we have a safe environment at school. So it took a team approach. It's going to continue to take a team approach to control the things that we can control. And Mr. President, I'm proud of the things that we can't control. I think what we have to be cognizant of and continue to monitor is what's happening in our community. There's concerns when IUP came back, what does impact on that on the community that would have, and that's something we have to be vigilant and monitor as we go forward. But the things we can't control, we are controlling for, and the students, the families, and the teachers have met the moment, and I'm proud of the work, and we're just going to take it one day, 1 week at a time, and we'll be sure to communicate if anything changes. Again, we appreciate the flexibility that everyone's demonstrating, and we understand some of these changes are hard, but I think what's important for this community to understand, Mr. Schroth, is we have to serve at the pleasure of the Department of Health and what their next steps are. So some of these decisions will be taken out of our hand when there's a confirmed case, and they'll take responsibility and ownership of next steps. And we want to be clear now because we understand the inconvenience it causes the families. However, that's just the protocol that the Commonwealth has put in place, and we are subject to adhere to. So that's all, Mr. President.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Ron, I think you're on the call here tonight. You have a solicitor's report for us.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a lot of things that have been coming up really within the last week. First, just to start with, as you know, House Bill 2787 on the spectators for athletic events was passed by both the House and Senate. It's on the governor's desk right now. We have no word whether he's going to sign it or not. If he doesn't sign it, it goes into law. If he vetoes it, there's always a chance we could get a super majority to override that. But at this point, we haven't been given word. But that is something that's pending. So it may change what the board's actions will have to be as it becomes a local decision for the spectators and how many we want to reach for capacity as a local decision. With that being said, I don't want to give too much, and I want to also give a quick caveat to the board and the community because about 4 hours ago, we had a federal judge release an opinion and order finding some of the mandates that Governor Wolf put out as being unconstitutional. Now, I say the caveat because with only 4 hours ago, we're still vetting through it, reading the language. It's about 66 pages to try to get to the opinion. But the long and short of it becomes if Governor Wolf's already said he's going to be appealing the decision and filing an immediate injunctive relief to say that we cannot implement that opinion. So he's going to be fighting it. But one thing that it would limit or remove if it does go into play would be that mandatory requirements for the 25 indoors and the 250 outside. Now, again, that doesn't mean that this district and this board can't make decisions under their health and safety plan. So I don't want that to take away from what the local board is able to control or do. It just would remove those limits so that we were able to make a local decision. Again, decision just came out 4 hours ago, so we're still combing through it. One thing that I want to be clear that it did not remove was the mask mandate. They did not find that unconstitutional. In fact, he found it constitutional and said that could continue. So that was a lot. And there's a lot that we're going to have to comb through and get out some opinions as it relates to that decision. But I did want to give the board an update because I know it's going to be probably if it's not on the news right now, it's going to be the first thing we hear about tomorrow morning. So that's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay, Ron, thanks. There are no presentations tonight. The next item is the approval of minutes in the agenda. Can I have a motion, please, from the floor?
I move that we approve the minutes of August 24th and the September 14th agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes in the agenda. We'll vote in the negative tonight. Anybody objecting to that, please say nay at this point. Nothing heard. The chair assumes that it passes unanimously. Next item is board reports, Indiana County Technology Center. Uta, I think you have some exciting news for us. You chaired the meeting last time.
I did chair the meeting last time. We met on August the 25th, and during that meeting, we approved some hiring and some supplemental positions for adult education, practical nursing, the medical assisting program, as well as advisors for the National Association of Home Builders, NTHS, the School Scribes Advisor, the USA Skills Advisor, and a supplemental health position. We also heard that they were closing their fiscal year and the audit was wrapping up nicely. We approved some capital improvements to include lighting, blacktop signage, and painting. We accepted grants from PCCD as well as CARES funding. We made some updates that were needed to the health and safety plan and updated policies that had been recommended, similar to ones that we will be discussing in our meeting this evening.
Okay, thanks, Uta. Barb, I know the IU's been pretty active the last while here, so do you have an update for us on that?
The last meeting that we had, unfortunately, was at the same time as our last minute scheduled meeting, but they did send out a fact sheet, and so it looks like at the last meeting, they had some routine hirings, approved an internship for a graduate student in the speech and language pathology. Let's see, they approved and authorized some grants, the pre-K counts grant and education for children and youth experience homeless grant. They also directed the administration to develop a policy incorporating the changes to Title IX regulations. And so they also updated the school reopening health and safety plan and some budget transfers. And their next scheduled meeting's tomorrow.
Okay, great. We'll have another update then at our next meeting.
Yep, I know you're looking forward to it.
Yes, ma'am, we are. Tom, I think it's your turn, academic and extracurricular.
Hi, Walter. Tom. Mike, I'm operating with one hand behind my back tonight. Can you go over the minutes for me? And Uta, can you take the motions?
Yep, absolutely, Mr. Harley. There's no meeting. Yep, there's no committee meeting to report. Last meeting we canceled. We had a good first week of opening. We had things are moving forward. I'm really proud of the work that we're doing with the asynchronous and synchronous opportunities for our learners. It's something that's a work in progress, but we're really pleased with the progress we're at. Ms. Lowry, I'll turn it over to you for the motions.
You want me to make the motions for academic and extracurricular?
Yep, I think that's what Mr. Harley's asking. Yep.
You're on that committee, Uta.
Sure. All right, motion 5.2, that based on the recommendation of administration, the contract with Catapult Learning LLC for services to non-public schools within Indiana Area School District that will be paid with federal title funds be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Mike, do you want to, you or Rob, just quickly comment on this, what this is about?
Yep, this is a standard Title I process we do every single year as far as using our Title I funds to provide supports to the non-public. So it's something we do every year, and we recommend its approval, sir.
Okay, are there any questions, comments, or discussion from the board on this motion? Nothing heard. We'll again vote in the negative. Anybody opposed to this motion, please say nay now. Nothing heard. The chair assumes a unanimous acceptance of the motion. Next motion, or if you want to take a couple of them together.
We'll do the next one. YMCA lifeguard agreement, that based on the recommendation of administration, the agreement with the YMCA of Indiana County for lifeguard services at the junior high be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion on this motion?
Yes, I am hesitant to approve this because I'm not sure how we can follow our safety protocol if we allow swimming during our gym classes. currently my understanding is we're not allowing the students to have use the locker room. I think that all of we can't wear masks in the pool. So I am not going to be able to support this.
Tamara, this is Tom. The chemical gas that comes off the pool actually attacks the viruses, and the swimming is one of the safest things we can do. I don't know how they are planning on doing the transition between the locker room and the pool, but the actual process of swimming is the lowest risk activity that we can pull off. I'd ask you to reconsider your standing on this.
I would like to talk to Dr. Shannon about this and the experts that we've been consulting with and have some literature that shows me that, because I'm uncomfortable with this happening, because we're going to have children changing in close quarters. There's a lot more to this than them just being in the pool.
Okay, then I'm going to ask that the motion is for approving the YMCA to do the lifeguarding, and I'm going to ask that the safety committee reviews the pool protocols. All we're asking for this on this motion is that we approve the contract with the YMCA.
I understand, but I don't see the purpose of approving a lifeguard if we don't know that this is a safe activity for our students. So I would still not be able to support this tonight.
So, but if we hire them, Tom, and they don't go to work, we don't have to pay them, right? So this is sort of perfunctory.
I would assume that, but we're planning on teaching swimming this year, and the YMCA is providing the lifeguard. So the two things are somewhat disconnected. And this is the first time that we've come up with a question on how we make a specific physical activity safe. I'd like the committee to look into it and make their recommendations. But the motion needs to be approved tonight.
I did have wording added to the contract that the services can be canceled at any time for any reason. So the board could approve it tonight, and if swimming doesn't happen, we cancel the contract with the YMCA.
So what measures are put in place to protect our students during swimming?
Ms. Leeper, that's a great question. What I think we can do is, depending what you want to do tonight with the motion, however that goes, what we can do is I can meet with the middle school tomorrow and see what precautions can come up, be developed, because I'm sure they haven't, but I'm not certain. But at the end of the day, I know this, with the hybrid schedule and only 6th grade being there 4 days a week, we may be able to spread it out. But I think your points are well taken, and we can work on that tomorrow. I just don't have it tonight, but I can work on it tomorrow and get you something that gives the precautions that we're taking.
I would appreciate that. And just another thought as well. I understand that swimming is it's a life skill. And again, just one more reason why I think this needs to be taught before junior high. But I would also like to see the ability for any parent who has children that are proficient swimmers to opt out of this and do regular gym class.
Okay, I think we can work on that. Yep, let me Rob and myself can meet with the middle school tomorrow, and we can work on that.
Is there a reason that this motion can't wait till our next meeting at the end of the month? Are they going to be swimming before then?
Well, it would be our goal and intention to get them swimming before then, but we can simply, if the board says, look, let's hold off until later month, we can simply make an adjustment. I think what's nice about this, if you decide to approve and feel comfortable with the plan, it can help lessen the number of people in the one gym and separate between the two for those who are able to swim. And as long as you're okay with the plan, it would declutter the amount of people who are in the gym. But again, nothing precludes you from waiting if the board so chooses.
So I have a question about the contract. I think it said that it's, I don't have it here in front of me. I think it was like $2,200 a month and based on 7.5 hours a day. Are we really going to use a lifeguard for 7.5 hours a day, or is that considered to be the maximum that they would be there?
I'm not sure on that one, Miss Cinda. Jared, are you aware of what we've done in the past?
I believe that they are there for the bulk of the day doing some other things with the pool, but the middle school would have to speak more on that. Exactly what their daily schedule looks like.
But Jared, I thought in the past it was an hourly rate.
It is, and then we pay for it on equal payments, like a monthly payment. But we do it is based on an hourly rate.
Right. Okay. So on days that they're not there for 7.5, we don't pay 7.5.
Yes, but they come up with some type of schedule for till I think May usually is when it kind of ends. It may be a little abbreviated this year, but there's a schedule that they come up with, and it's based on an hourly rate.
But then what does the 2,200 a month, how does that number get figured?
Just by taking the total hours that they're going to work times the hourly rate and then dividing it up over, I believe, 6 months.
But then that's kind of assuming that they're going to be there 7.5 hours a day. And
Yeah.
I don't know what other things they would be doing with the pool. You know, you test the water once, maybe twice a day. And then what else do they need to do? Because it's my understanding from the contract that the district does all the other maintenance. So if they're not teaching and not lifeguarding, then what are they doing?
They're also there early in the morning because we do some work with life skills students in the pool early in the morning as well. So their day is kind of extended a little bit because of that. But again, the exact schedule, they're 7.5 hours. The junior high would have to speak to that.
I'd like to see that schedule.
So it seems to me like we've got a bunch of questions and about this in general. I do hope that any class that we teach, whether it's swimming or food preparation or chemistry, that we're relying on the administration and the teachers in the buildings to make sure that we are doing it in the most safe manner, including protections for COVID. But I get the sense that we're not real comfortable in even making a decision on this tonight.
I don't mind waiting, but until you can work out the details. But I want to say that I really support swimming. I think it's one of the most wonderful things that students get to do. I think it's important to learn to swim regardless of the age. And we have this pool, and we fixed it, and we've invested in it. And I hope that we can work out something where it can be used by those students who want to learn to swim. I think it's just a fundamental part of life to learn to swim.
I'm puzzled, Walter. I'm puzzled with why we're having this discussion. There's a contract before us. If we're going to swim in the pool at all, we need to honor. We need to have the YMCA involved. The administration has figured out a cost, and I assume that Jared's a fairly responsible business manager. The details, I think the committee can get into, but my assumption is that like the band and the music and everything else that we're doing, people are doing the right thing. If not, the committee needs to get involved. But
Tom,
I see no reason to delay this approval and wait 2 weeks and then start swimming a month or two after school starts. I don't understand the hesitancy.
Go ahead, Uta.
So Tom keeps referring to the committee. The oversight team is for athletics and extracurriculars. It's not for academic classroom things where we need to make sure that we're taking precautions for COVID. If we want to change that, we can, but I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about the same thing. So if you want the oversight team to also look at swimming, then Rob can add it to our agenda.
Yeah,
we are having swim team. I mean, we've hired, aren't we, Mike? I mean, it's not like we're not going to have swim team, right?
That's correct.
Right.
I think what Ms. Uta is saying is, look, it's part of gym class, it's part of a regular day, and I think Ms. Uta is right in saying let administration come up with the protocol so we can embed in our health and safety plan rather than going to subcommittee.
So I think that, you know, are they going to use the locker rooms? You don't have to use a locker room for swim team. You just have to dry off. And I mean, it would be hard, but anyway, I hope we don't cancel swimming.
Let me step in here then. We do have a motion and it has been seconded. So, you know, Robert's rules would require if the consensus of the board is to delay, somebody then would need to move to table this. But I agree that there are two separate issues here. One is whether or not we approve the contract and approve that if we are able to do swimming under whatever safety guidelines that the administration and this board deem necessary. The real question that we're asking tonight is, are we willing to hire the lifeguards through the YMCA? I think there are two separate issues. My recommendation to the board would be to go ahead and accept this motion, and then allow Mike the ability to further vet the safeguards and the issues that Tamara has raised, and then get back to us, you know, with their recommendations. And I think Uta is correct that it's outside the purview of her committee, but it would then fall to the academic committee, to Tom to vet at his next meeting, if there are some issues that can't be resolved by the administration.
Walter, let me jump in just for a moment. I think the committee that Uta is heading, Uta and Cinda on, has more resources than the academic committee. So questions of COVID safety, I would, whether they're academic or extracurricular or athletic, I would think that they would be more easily and more competently answered inside that committee format. Reconstructing that committee as part of the academic committee, I think, is a mistake. So I'd like to have Uta's committee and Uta and Cinda's committee there with a bigger mandate. Anything that's COVID, they have the ability to look into.
May I chime in now, please?
Thank you, Cinda.
Please do, Sid.
I agree. I agree with Uta and I agree with Tom. I don't think that swim lessons for the students are under the purview of the athletic oversight group, but we haven't even considered any of the safety procedures and templates for the swim team. So that committee hasn't delved into this yet, and I would feel more comfortable having that procedure started so that we can look at it and we can figure out what is safe and what isn't. I was surprised. I didn't know the swimming pool was even up. I was surprised to see this on the agenda. I thought that, you know, I didn't know there'd been a decision made about swimming, but I'm certainly not comfortable going ahead. It's not like the world's not going to end if we don't do this tonight. I would like to have some time to look at it and answer everybody's questions.
Cinda, I do want to reiterate, though, I don't think this is a question about whether or not we have the swimming instruction or the swim team. I think this is a question of whether we want to accept the proposal from the YMCA to provide the lifeguard or the lifeguard services if we in fact do have the swim team or the swimming activity as academics at the middle school. So I think I certainly agree that your committee needs to start taking a look at the swim team activities as well as swimming from an academic point of view, and perhaps sooner than later. But the question I think really is, are we comfortable with hiring the YMCA, or are we going to provide lifeguards through some other venue? I think that's the real question that this motion is addressing.
Is there a scarcity of lifeguards, like there's a scarcity of substitute teachers? Because I don't see the need to rush and do this right this minute when we don't know what our protocols are going to be. Is Penn Standard going to have all the lifeguards? Is somebody else going to take them and we won't have any?
Zinda, their physical education classes are planning on using the pool now, not 3 months from now. So that, and if we use the pool, we have to have lifeguards.
Okay, but
Go ahead, Barb.
No, Uta can go first.
Say again, Barb, you kind of broke up there.
I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to the table. There's no discussion. Jared, let's go ahead and take a roll call on this, if you will, please.
Tammy Blank,
Yes, second. I table it, please. Yes.
Cinda Brode,
Yes, table it.
Julia Tamarki Kukuro,
Yeah, I'll table.
Tom Harley,
No.
Mr. Kerr,
Yes.
Mrs. Leeper,
Yes.
Mrs. Lowry,
yes.
Mr. Schroed,
No.
Barb Barker.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-2.
Okay, the motion.
Walter, you're on mute.
I thought I pushed the right button. The next item is 5.4. I can't see below that. Are there other motions that we can take as consent items?
Hang on, I'm looking. 5.4 is the last one for this committee, and it's extra duty, extra pay.
Okay, Uta, why don't you go ahead with that motion, please, for us?
That based on the recommendation of administration, the board approves the following extra duty, extra pay assignments for the 2020-2021 school year. And they are on the agenda. Point of clarification, do I need to read them all?
No.
No, you don't.
Okay. So that's the motion,
As published.
as published.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further questions, comments, or discussion on extra duty, extra pay assignments?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Barb.
What for drama musicals? Can you tell me what the safety plan is? I looked in our athletic plan. I didn't quite see it. It just said it was a moderate risk.
No, that's a great question, Ms. Barker, Mr. President. I'll take that. What we're doing, Ms. Barker, is we're looking at doing that remote with no audience. So the safety plan in place will be to make sure that it's done virtually, no audience in place to adhere to social distancing guidelines, and as well as the play directors themselves will institute their own safety plan in place. But we will avoid large gatherings, which was our biggest concern. Mr. McElhaney's on the call. Mr. McElhaney, is there anything else you want to explain about the discussions you had with your team?
I think you summarized it very well. Any filming, spoke with Ms. Lyons that if she would video any of it, there might be 2 students maximum on stage, and they would be on the separate ends of the stage being videotaped.
Mrs. Barker, I can share the safety plan for the plays with you if you'd like.
I would like that. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions, comments, or discussions on the extra duty, extra pay? Nothing heard at this point. We'll vote in the negative. All those opposed to approving these, please say nay at this time. The chair assumes that it's unanimously passed. I think we're now down to the next category.
We are. Policy and Personnel Committee met this evening. Our meeting began at 5:31 p.m. we discussed the agenda items that are on the agenda this evening, which are 6.2 through 6.10. And we also had a non-agenda item discussion about clarifying attendance expectations for students at our secondary schools who are doing the hybrid model. That means that they would physically attend school 2 days a week and then attend synchronously on the off days via Google Classroom. So that was our meeting.
Okay, Uta, thank you. And then you have a couple of items here, I think, for the board's consideration.
Yeah, so we're gonna do between 6.2 to 6.10. Is there any one that anybody wants to pull out separately? All right, nothing heard. I move that we approve agenda items 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, 6.9, and 6.10 as presented on the agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Is there any questions, comments, or discussion from the board on those 9 motions? Nothing heard. Again, we'll vote in the negative. Anyone opposed to those, please say nay now. Again, nothing heard. The chair assumes that all those motions pass unanimously. I think we're ready for item 7, which I believe is Terry's. Terry, you still online?
Yeah, there's nothing to report tonight, Walter.
Okay, thanks, Terry. You probably have something for us the next time. I think you're scheduled next week for a meeting. Julia, you're up. It's your turn.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did not have a meeting tonight, so there's no meeting to report. I do have a little bit of good news, though. On the bills, there's a motion to approve the bills. We will be paying off. It's good news. We have good news tonight. We're paying off the junior high debt. We've just paid it off, and you'll see that it's about $1.1 million that we paid off. So I love to pay off debt, and I'm sure everybody else does too. So that's good news. So that lessens our debt burden a little bit. I don't know, Jared, do you have any? So there'll be no payment in October. Is that correct, Jared?
No, there'll be no further debt payments until April and March.
Okay. I'd like to take these separately. So I would like to move on 8.2. Thanks, Jared. Approval of bills, that the current bills be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comment, or discussion on the current bills? Nothing heard. Again, we'll vote in the negative. If anybody objects to approving these bills, please say nay at this point. Again, the chair assumes that they were approved unanimously. Next item, Julia.
8.3, it's with great pleasure that based on the recommendation of the administration, the board accepts the donation of a piano from Mrs. Marie Twall to be used at the junior high.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second, and I also want to thank Marie Twall for her generosity in donating the piano. That kind of community support is always welcome. Are there any other questions, comments, or discussion on 8.3? Vote in the negative. Is there anybody that's objecting to it? Please say nay at this point. Nothing heard. The chair assumes that it passes unanimously. 8.4.
Affordable Care Employer Reporting. Mr. President, I move that based on the recommendation of the administration, the agreement with the Ruskini Group to produce the required 2020 IRS forms for the Affordable Care Act reporting be approved at an estimated cost of $22,500.
Second.
Can't hear you, Walter.
I understand. Yeah, I keep hitting the wrong button there. Are there any other questions, comments, or further discussion on 8.4 now that it's been moved and seconded? Nothing heard. Again, we'll vote in the negative. Anybody objecting to that, please say nay at this time. Okay, nothing heard. The chair assumes that it passed unanimously. And we have the last one, 8.5, Jewel.
You're on mute, Julia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I move that based on the recommendation of the administration, the board approves the resolution to appoint Nicole Decker, Assistant Business Manager, as an authorized representative for the district to request and receive information from Berkheimer, the district's earned income tax collector.
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Questions, comments, or discussion on motion 8.5? Nothing heard. We'll go again in the negative. Anybody objecting to this motion, please say nay at this point. Again, nothing heard. We'll consider it a unanimous acceptance. And now we're down to closing. We have some PSBA elections. Mike, do you want to kind of comment on this a little bit for us?
Yes, sir. I support the candidates as listed and request approved.
Mike, I would say the only one for Mr. President is number 2. It's Sabrina Backer and everyone else is already plugged in or an and. That's the only one that is an or.
Agreed. So what I think Ron's saying, Mr. President, 1 through minus 2, you can go with as is and decide what you want to do number 2.
Okay, can I have a motion then to accept PSBA number 1, 3, 4, and 5?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have moved in second. Any comments on this from the board? Nothing heard. We'll vote in the negative again. Anybody objecting to these, please say nay at this point.
Nay.
And who said nay?
I did. Julia.
Julia, okay. So if she's the only one, the chair assumes that everyone else is voting in the affirmative, and the motion would carry then 8-1. All right, for item number 2, what's the board's pleasure, Sabrina Backer or Daniel O'Keefe?
Walter, I'll make the motion that the board supports Sabrina Backer as vice president for the Pennsylvania School Board Association.
Second.
We have moved in second. Okay, questions, comments on Sabrina as vice president?
Who is Sabrina Backer, please? I'm just curious. Who is she? And what qualifies her?
Well, I don't know if you read their, I mean, this really, we don't know a whole lot about either of them. She's from Venango County.
I saw that. I don't question.
I mean, I don't know anything about her either, but given from what, yeah.
I'm not against her. It's just that I don't understand any of it. You get one little paragraph about them and you're expected to vote, and they don't really campaign, so. Though I admit she may be perfectly well qualified. I'm not arguing that, but I'm going to vote no on this motion.
Okay, so any further discussion on motion 2 under PSB elections? Okay, nothing heard. The chair will again vote in the negative. Julia will record yours as negative. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to vote nay at this point on Sabrina as the vice president?
I'm going to vote with Julia just for fun.
Okay, Tom's voting for fun.
Thank you, Tom.
Anybody else? Okay, the chair assumes that everyone else will vote in the affirmative. And again, that would pass 7-2. So let's run down.
We wish her luck. She's got a tough job.
Very good. We're down to the next item below 9.1. Okay. It looks like we have leadership conference coming up in October. It'll be completely online. Do we have public comment on agenda items at this point? Nothing heard. We had some enclosures on our treasurer's report tonight. We also had an executive session at 6:30 to discuss personnel issues. Our next scheduled meeting of the board will be on September the 28th at 7 o'clock. I believe we have a buildings and grounds committee meeting next Monday at 5:30 and a finance committee the following Monday on the 28th at 5:30 as well. I'm kind of shooting from the hip. Randy, if you could run that by, did I miss anything? Okay, I think I covered everything. Can I have a motion to adjourn then? Okay. Again, we're going to vote in the negative. Anybody objecting to adjourning? Nothing heard. We stand adjourned. Looks like Chauncey may have some questions. Mike, can you handle those then?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, thanks for joining us tonight.
Sure.
Thank you.
Details about the swimming program. What grade levels take part? How many quarters do they take part? What all is involved in the swimming program that goes on normally in the class?
Yeah, thanks, Chauncey.